On the scene outside the Pistorius family home in Waterkloof. Chriselda, the Oscar family breaking their silence but keeping mum on the conditions of his release. Is there any indication as to what these are?
Well, Natasha, I'm struggling to hear you a bit there, but relating to the conditions under which Oscar Pistorius has been placed under correctional supervision, the Correctional Services Department is still very mum on what the additional conditions are. But what we do know at this stage is what they've been maintaining is that Oscar Pistorius will continue to undergo psychotherapy and that there will be restrictions on guns. Basically, that Oscar Pistorius is not allowed to possess a gun. That's all that the Department of Correctional Services is willing to say at this stage. A massive veil of secrecy relating to the conditions that Oscar Pistorius would need to adhere to. But what we do know is that he has been assigned, of course, a probation officer or a parole officer, somebody who will be able to check in on Oscar Pistorius and whether he is adhering to the conditions that have been set out by the Department of Correctional Services and even the parole board before it reached its decision. So not much on that at this stage, except to say the issue related to psychotherapy, that is ongoing, as well as the gun restrictions.
All right, Chriselda, it isn't the end of legal battles for Pistorius. The state's appeal happens next month. Is it too early to speculate around that? What could be next for Oscar Pistorius?
Well, Natasha, if I heard you correctly, you're speaking about the state's appeal, which is taken to the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal. Of course, that will sit on the 3rd of November, as we know. And certainly what the state hopes to do is to convince a panel of 5 judges at the Supreme Court that Oscar Pistorius instead should have been found guilty of murder. Essentially what the state is saying is that Judge Thokozile Masipa erred in her interpretation of the law, and they want that court to overturn the culpable homicide conviction that Oscar Pistorius was found guilty of, and they want him to spend a lengthier time in jail, subsequently being found guilty of murder. But a lot of speculation about what might happen at the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal. There will be no evidence that will be additional evidence that will be heard. Basically, the arguments that were presented in the North Gauteng High Court is essentially what will be put in front of the Supreme Court of Appeal judges. But let's take a listen to what one of the legal experts who we spoke to a little bit earlier on, what their speculation is of what might take place at the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal.
I think at this stage it's a 50-50 because there was a lot of criticism on Judge Masipa's verdict and how she got to it. I believe that that's going to be overturned in the way that she got to it, a reasoning behind it. But I also believe that the odds are very good that they're still going to stick to what the verdict was at the end of the day.
All right, that was Karen van Eck, attorney, giving her opinion on what could be next in terms of the legal battle for Oscar Pistorius. That state appeal coming up on November the 3rd. We leave it from Chriselda Lewis, who is at Waterkloof outside the Oscar Pistorius' uncle's home. She's been covering that reaction from this morning. We will get an update from her coming up in our later bulletins.